Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So nice to see your smiling face. I'm assuming that you're smiling behind this screen that you're watching this video on, because if you're on my channel, you must be smiling, having a good time watching me talk about code. This week's episode is going to be a little bit of a different episode. I actually got inspiration for this episode because just a few minutes ago, I was poking around trying to figure out how to do live streaming because I am interested in doing live streaming. More details to come when I actually figure it out. And I accidentally started a live stream. So everyone who was on that live stream about 30 minutes ago, that was an accident, but I'm so glad that you were there because A, really exciting to see you there and talk with you. B, you gave me inspiration for what to actually make this Monday. I needed kind of an intermediary episode because I'm working on another 3-part series of videos that I'm pretty excited about. No spoilers, but I'm developing them. Very excited about that, but I want to make sure that they are done with enough polish that I actually get that information across to you correctly. So for now, I need kind of this intermediary episode, and the suggestion that was given in the live stream, people, which again, so happy, and I was just shocked to see you just appear out of nowhere. I was doodling on the live stream page on YouTube, and also I look in the top right corner and it says 2, 3, 6 people watching the live stream, which I didn't really plan. So thank you, very flattering for me to see you join there, but also thank you for the idea. Today, we're going to together learn and play with Svelte 3. SVELTE 3. If you listen to my podcast, I have a podcast as well. I talk about all the latest JavaScript news. It's called the Console Log. And actually, a couple of weeks ago episode, we were talking about the new Svelte 3 release, which is a new framework. It's a new JavaScript framework called Svelte. And its main thing is that it is a framework that's powered by a compiler. So you have React, Angular, Vue, and those are all runtime frameworks. And by which I mean that you write some code and you give it to these frameworks, Angular, React, or Vue, the top 3 more, and Ember, I'll include Ember, the top 4 most popular UI frameworks, and they have their own runtime behavior that will read your application code and then make that thing work on the actual web page. Svelte kind of inverts that model, where you write your Svelte code, you feed it into the Svelte compiler, and out pops completely optimized code ready to run in your browser without any runtime. It just does all this magic to actually understand your code and outputs just raw JavaScript API calls that can just work on a page. I've read the blog post about Svelte 3. I followed its progress along the way. Rich Harris, who has a very awesome blog post video all about Svelte 3. I haven't watched it yet, but I do plan on watching it. I figured that today we kind of learn a little bit what it takes to actually make a very simple Svelte app. Maybe we'll make a fun little accordion or something a little bit fun together, but it's going to be me kind of learning along with you. So a different type of video. I do not profess to have all the answers, but I will certainly give you my opinion about it as we go along. Very also curious to hear what you think about this video when I'm done, because I'm also curious about how it's going to actually end up. Without further ado, let's start looking at some Svelte code. Okay. And the first place that we're going to start, as is probably customary, is with the Svelte website. This is Cybernetically Enhanced Web Apps, which is a very cute little headline here. But as I said before, there is no virtual DOM. There's no runtime, there's no code, there's no Svelte library, it's just Svelte the compiler, which is a very interesting way of doing things. What we're going to do to start things off is I've already read a few things about it. They have a wonderful tutorial that'll ease you into learning the things of Svelte, but I actually want to get my hands dirty with it immediately. You can kind of see here, Svelte kind of embraces the concept of React, and I guess Angular and Ember nowadays too, where you kind of co-locate all of your JavaScript templates and styles in the same file. With Svelte, that is a first-party concern, where because it's a compiler, you have these things called .svelte files because, again, it's an abstraction from what will actually be rendered on the page, so you can kind of take some liberties with that. And what's kind of neat is that they've actually embraced the concept of a very basic, what you would normally write as a HTML file is what has been renamed .svelte, renamed to .svelte purposely so because that's what the compiler will understand how to use. So you can see here you can import other components in the script tag, have those be accessible to be used as you would kind of JSX. So there's some inspiration from React. And these styles right here are actually scoped right here. Like you can see in nested, it has another p tag, but because of the way that Svelte works, it actually does encapsulation by default for all code styles and templates, and there's no leaking or cascading of things outside of that. Here we have event handlers. This is my big thing that I don't like about Svelte and non-React languages. This is why I am a big React fan, is having to learn these arbitrary and bespoke and custom-made template things for this framework. So here, this works. This is fine. That's pretty neat that they show you the actual output. But what's a little bit annoying to me is that if I want to actually use Svelte and be proficient in Svelte, I have to actually understand how to use its template language. Whereas React, I guess I've already incurred that cost. I don't have to actually learn it myself, so it's not as big of a deal, but it's a thing that I always get kind of uneasy about. And I guess this is to show how we can actually use some nice little animations, which is always a nice little litmus test for frameworks. A lot of contributors. My face is not on there. Not yet. Not ever. Not ever. Will I ever get back to open source? I guess this is in some way what I'm doing open source, but it's YouTube source, I guess you could say. Video source. Whatever. Let's start doing some coding. I'm going to do this, copy this into me editor. I have this fun little YouTube repo that I use kind of for all of my projects here. I'm going to call this Svelte Learning. Svelte Learning. And then we're going to let that run. I'm going to probably edit this out because who cares about seeing an npm thing install. Sweet, it's here. Let's do a little npm install. I am actually using Yarn for this mono repo with plug and play, which is a whole other topic that maybe I should talk about one day. But what I can do right now is Yarn workspace Svelte learning. Again, I can talk about this type of things in another video because I think it is kind of interesting what I'm doing here. I played with that the other day. I'm going to do start. Good. Work a space. You know, it's great when you can actually type correctly. It works. Huzzah. Alright, well, let's make some things bigger, shall we? We are going to look at the main.js, which is the only thing that actually has its own little purely JavaScript part of Svelte, I imagine. Everything else you can kind of stay in the Svelte world. I want to bring over that little button thing again. What's kind of interesting about Svelte is you have local variables. So I'm going to say count equals 0. I want to go down here and say, you know, p current count. I'm going to have this be count. Does that work? Current count 0. Current count 1. Current count 1. Look at that. Ooh, look at that fast little rebuild. That's cool. I can actually have this p be, what do I want my p to be? Font weight bold. This is the thing that's really nice about Svelte because it's kind of leveraging existing technologies. You can kind of leverage the current tool chains that exist out there. So let's actually make this a little bit bigger for all my friendly viewers out there. I'm going to have a function. This is just for memory, so increment count. And I'm just going to say count equals count plus 1. And then what was the thing again? If we had a button that said go bigger, it's on click equals increment count. Got an error there. So this, nice, go bigger. Hey, look at that. Look at that. That's pretty cool. That was pretty fast. Also, what I'm curious about with Svelte right now is what the bundle looks like. And it's pretty small compared to what React would have you have. You have here this increment count. So here's where I find Svelte very interesting, because the way it works as a compiler is it'll take your code and kind of decorate it with what would normally be in a framework's runtime. So when you call setState in React, that hooks into the internals of React and lets React know that your component state has changed, that it has to kind of recalculate and re-render that onto the page itself. Whereas Svelte, because it actually has full knowledge of your actual application code, it can actually inline those runtime calls directly into your compiled code. So you see here is what I wrote for increment count, if you recall, is count equals count plus 1. What's actually being rendered here is this invalidate count, count equals count plus 1. So it took my expression, which I wrote there, and it's saying that when that completes, this variable that I have defined here is now invalidated, then it's going to have to update that code. So this, I imagine, is, so this is being passed in as an instance. Where's my do invalidate? This is how my line works. Oh, I don't know what it's being called. Instance, is that being called anywhere? So init, this option is instance. Instance. I'm so curious about what this invalidate thing does. Instance component props. You're saying, so component props key value. So if the context is not equal to these things, if it's bound, make dirty. Where's make dirty? It's just kind of tracking on the component instance the things that are there. So I wonder if I were to actually do, can I hack this? Window dot a equals this. I wonder if that's going to let me do that. I love, nope, I want A. I want to play with the internals. That's what I like to do. Strict no op, Windows no op. See, this is the stuff that just I get so interested about. It's like, how are these things working? And what's great about Svelte is that because it's so small, you can kind of have the time to poke around. This might be a thing that I kind of spend my own time just kind of reading through what it's actually coming back from. With Svelte component, it's kind of doing its own little thing. So there's a small runtime with Svelte, but not nearly as large as Go Bigger. I thought that was telling me to go something else, but look at that namespace class names that Svelte's generating for us for free. All these things that it's doing when it's actually running the things. Really interesting. It's actually much more readable than, oh, window.a equals this. There it is. So why can't I load it? I want to load this. Window.a. No. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Oh, because I have to click the button first. Duh. Nope. Doesn't work at all. Whatever. Very, very interesting. So what else can we do? You can do pretty much, I mean, you can make a toggle very clearly. You could have a new little toggle component if you wanted to. So your toggle.svelte. We want to have there be script. Come on, buddy. Script. We can say export let open equals false. You can go away there. We're going to have this be a div, and we're going to have there be export let. So what Svelte does, which is kind of interesting, is it leverages import-export syntaxes to expose kind of the props to the component. So when I do export let, I can have this be a prop that's being given to it. So if I have this, and I have this, and I have title, let's just make sure that this works for now. So I save that, and if in here I say import toggle from toggle.svelte. If I go down to the bottom here and I say toggle, what did I call that thing? Title? I go to my toggle. And save that. Look at that, right there, my toggle. That is what I'm rendering. Let's move this to the top right here. And then what do we do for children? That's my question. How do you do children? If I go to the API, so I want to just have there be content inside of it, attributes, element bindings, classes, component bindings, button, classes. Nope, I just want there to be the inside of me. The inside of me. Await blocks, element bindings. Nope. Runtime. Tags, attributes. let's just check if there's a thing that I can do with children. I'm just going to guess, export let children. I want to have this be down here. Cool. So now if I go here, I close that with my toggle. I'm going to say in the inside. I go back here. Nope, undefined. Error, error, error. Not working at all. Binding a DOM node to this. Nope, slots. Is that what I want it to be? This is some child comments. Can I have child content the same way the elements can, as opposed to child using the slot element, which contains one of this. So if I just change this then to slots, is that what it is? Slot. Like that? Is that all that I need? Hey, look at that, in the inside. So what I can have it be is, I have to do an if statement. So if blocks looks like this, if expression kind of like handlebars, if open, so if it's open and I want to close it, then I render it. Yes, so it's closed, and then if I tap on it, so actually let's make this self-contained. Let's not have that be a thing anymore. I want to say on click equals open equals the opposite of open, like that. Oh, fine. So I'll do this. We'll say toggle open, function toggle open, open equals that. Yeah? Hey, look at that. Look at that. Let's go to the source code. So curious. Toggle. Ooh, got fancier. Toggle, 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 toggle. Equals open. Very interesting. Well, I just made a little reusable component right there, which is kind of interesting. Toggle tile component. Yeah, that's pretty neat. That's actually really cool. So now if I were to add some style, I could have my root div be border 1px solid like that. Cool. We'll have it width be 300 pixels. Okay, it's getting better there. We have the text align center. Look at that. That is really cool. Huh. That was pretty interesting. I hope you enjoyed watching me learn that along with you. But that's actually that was really cool. I was going to come away from this video, I was expecting to come away from this whole experience being a little bit like, it's not going to replace React for me. That's not true. This is really nice. You get to leverage your existing technologies. The output's very clean. I think the one thing that definitely that it will be a little bit harder to. I mean, so some of the advanced new features that are come out with React and all these other frameworks, and React in particular, really lean into the power of the runtime of the framework. In React, that's the React core. And what that framework, that core piece of technology can do is really do some advanced things that are maybe makes it easier having it be centralized. So one thing that that we're working on with React is allowing for suspense, where you can have kind of two different rendering trees in React, which is a similar technique they use in games actually. If you're in a video game and you're looking straight ahead and you look right in a video game, you don't actually see the world around you incrementally loaded in. It just pops into focus. Like it waits for everything to be done off screen and then shows you everything. That's what React is kind of building towards, having two different rendering trees that they can actually show at any given point in time, where if you're on page A and you click to go to page B, rather than incrementally showing parts of page B, which if you want that to have that to happen, you can do that still, it's going to wait until everything on page B is done and then snap that all into place. Which might be a little bit hard for Svelte because it's kind of a little bit more discreetly changing things per component basis. if you want to just have things be done very component-wise, Svelte might be a very great solution for you, especially if you are coming from a more UI-focused background where you have messed around mostly with just HTML and CSS. You want to add some JavaScript in, Svelte might be a very good option for you because it definitely leans into those existing skills very nicely. Rich Harris, very interesting. I'd love to speak to you and pick your brain about these things because this is a very interesting piece of technology. But I definitely see that Svelte is on the bleeding edge in terms of leading into the compiler to do things ahead of time as much as possible. That is definitely going to be a rising trend in the world of UI frameworks as you kind of exhaust all you can do in the runtime and you kind of see where else you can kind of optimize things. And one of the places is ahead of time where you can actually compile things away. So if you have some very complex piece of expression where you're like, adding multiple numbers, you can potentially calculate that at compile time and not have to do it in the actual environment, which is what teams across all the major UI frameworks are doing. Let me know what you thought about this type of video. It might have been a little bit more rambling than you're used to, but because I was kind of learning with you, it wasn't really a prepared pitch of knowledge. It was more kind of like, let's learn together. Hopefully you found some things interesting about it. Be curious to hear your thoughts though, as always. I hope to do more live streams in the future. And of course, the necessary plug in by law, any YouTube video, every YouTube video by law has to end with the creator asking the viewer to subscribe and hit the smash button. Hit the smash button. It's going to be such a fun time. And I'll see you again next Monday. Bye.